Welcome so much to the second part of our 2026 spirituality series, sponsored by Temple Sinai of Glendale's Adult Education Committee. Tonight we are gathering in person and online for the second part of the series titled Life After Life, a Jewish View of the Soul's Journey Through Life, Death, and Beyond. So hopefully, and maybe Susan, if you could check in the chat, is anybody new to anybody attending tonight who was not here for the first class? Okay, so we've got Bob around the table and maybe some people at home. So we're going to do some review tonight. But before, just to sort of set the stage for what we're doing and what I mentioned last week, we're gathering together for this series, this two-part series, to explore the profound mysteries of the soul as we are weaving together Jewish mystical tradition with the insights of contemporary psychology. Last class, we focused on the Jewish mystical tradition. This class, we're going to focus on contemporary psychology, and we're going to bring in those insights from last class of the Jewish mystical tradition about the soul's journey through life, death, and beyond. And we're going to maybe do a little comparing and contrasting of what contemporary psychologists have to say about the soul's journey and afterlife and rebirth, and what Jewish mysticism says. There's a lot of similarity, and there are some differences, and we're going to talk about that tonight. And we are going to focus, well, I'll tell you what we're going to focus on tonight in just a second. So let me start sharing the slides. So give me one moment, everybody. So I press share. As I press share again, there we go. Sounds good. Okay. I'm going to try to honor a wise statement that Susan just made, but I'm going to try to do one thing at a time here. So, Jake, the question is, how do I get my screen? Thank you. Okay, but how about if I do this? Does that still work? So you guys see that? Am I in the corner?
You see where it is up there?
Okay, great. So people at home can see me and the slides? Okay, so Susan is asking if I can put in the slides from last week. And now it's getting really complicated. I do have a hard time walking and chewing gum at the same time. So you can imagine how difficult this is for me. I got it. It's on this computer. So here we go.
Always hard when you're the presenter.
Okay, I am now putting, not to confuse people, but I am putting in the last week's slide deck as a PDF, also is now in the chat box. Yes. Okay, great. All right, everybody. So let me advance the slide here, if this works. Great. Can everybody see that?
No.
Okay.
Oh, yeah.
Folks at home, I can't see you, but
They can see it.
they can see it. Great. So, and by the way, the chat box, for those of you who were here last week, the chat box had wonderful questions and comments, and I am going to do my bestest to answer those profound questions tonight as we go through this slide deck. And we're going to save time at the end to make sure, in case I didn't answer the questions and you still have those questions, that we're going to talk about it tonight. We're going to try to do it all tonight. This is a very ambitious project. Now, just very quickly to review, the Kabbalistic, the Jewish mystical traditions of the soul's journey through life, death, and beyond, and rebirth, is this fourfold process. And it's linked to Jewish traditions related to mourning customs, life cycle customs for death and dying in Judaism. So the first process that the Jewish mysticism talks about is when we die, our soul, our spirit separates from our body. and that's called Chibut HaKever. Chibut HaKever literally means pangs of the grave. And that is associated, correlates with the 7 days of Shiva, that our soul is separating from the body and it's hanging around the body. Depending on how advanced your soul is, it's hanging around the body for a little bit or about 7 days, getting used to being separated from the body. The second part of the Kabbalistic journey of the soul is this really interesting thing that there's some contrast between Gehenna, which is literally hell in Judaism, but it's a little bit different in contemporary psychology. That's one of the major contrasts. But what is true about both, what Kabbalah says about this emotional purgation or purification, that's the second step of the soul's journey, what Judaism says about that, and what contemporary psychologists say about it who doing past life regression work, there are similarities, but there are differences. We're going to talk about that. Now, that second stage lasts for approximately 11 months, correlates to the time that we say Kaddish for the first year of when a loved one passes. So that emotional purgation, purification, cleansing that's taking place in the spiritual realms takes place for about 11 months in Judaism, not necessarily 11 months according to psychologists. They're not attached to our Jewish timetable of mourning. The third stage is, says no internet connection. Susan, are they still on? Okay, everybody, if we lost you for a second, I apologize, but we're having a little internet problem. So we may go in and out, but we'll do our best. Let's bring some prayers. Let's elevate our thing tonight. We're in the purification.
Right, but that's hooked to this.
Yeah, but I'm linked. Everything's linked to this. So
Right, but I still see you.
okay. All right.
Still on.
Sounds
You're
good.
still going.
All right. We shall proceed. The third stage in the soul's journey, according to Jewish mysticism, is heavenly bliss, transcendent awareness, otherwise known as Gan Eden, literally the Garden of Eden, otherwise known as heaven. Stage 3. Stage 4 in the Kabbalistic four-step process of the soul journey, return to the source, in Hebrew, Tzror HaChaim, literally being bound up in life, bound up in eternal life. And this fourth stage includes reincarnation, which is called Gilgul. In Hebrew, Gilgul literally means wheel or cycling, turning, revolving. But just think of a wheel. And by the way, this is talked about, I think, in Eastern tradition. So think like the wheel of samsara, the wheel of, reincarnation, whatever it is. So, so those are the four stages, according to Jewish mysticism. If you want a handy dandy graphic, just again, to give credit where credit is due, these four stages are explained, described in the wonderful book, Jewish Views of the Afterlife, written by Reb Simcha Paul Raphael, and over 30 years ago. And this is the authoritative guide on the Jewish views of the afterlife. Reb Simcha is I think, the greatest scholar in the world, alive today. May he live to be 120, who is doing research and writing extensively about Jewish views of afterlife. So I highly recommend that book to you. You can get it on Kindle. You can get it in paperback, and it's well worth it. And Reb Simcha has an organization called the Da'at Institute for Death Awareness, Advocacy, and Training at da'atinstitute.net. They have great resources on there. I highly recommend the website to you. And that's an acronym. Da'at means knowledge in Judaism. And here is the slide that Simcha shared with me, who I'm working with, and I'm working one-on-one with him. I'm honored to be working with him one-on-one. And he showed me the slide. When I was telling him I was leading this class, I said, could I please share the slide with Temple Sinai of Glendale? He said, of course, just please let people know it comes from me, and I do. And so please, anything that Simcha Raphael writes, talks about, podcasts, any resource it's well worth your time and attention. He's brilliant. So this is what it looks like, what we just described, those 4 stages. And it's a nice, handy little reminder, visual reminder. Now let's frame the conversation tonight. And this is what I'm really, really excited about. I certainly love what Judaism says about Kabbalah and mysticism. That's the source. And we looked at those many, many sources from the Zohar last week and other Jewish source material. What's fascinating me right now is what contemporary psychologists, mainly psychologists and psychiatrists who are doing hypnotherapy and past life regression, what they are learning and experiencing in their when they regress people. And the people that I'm going to share with you tonight have regressed thousands of people throughout their 40, 50, 30, 50 years of hypnotherapy, past life regression, and a lot of what 3 different experts in the field have to say. It really, everything they say sort of relates. There's not a lot of light between what they're describing, meaning that there's a lot of consistency and similarity, not only in what they're experiencing, but what in their interviewees, the people they are hypnotizing, what they report. There is a lot of consistency in the reports, probably over 10,000. So what is contemporary psychology tonight? What does contemporary psychology say about the afterlife? And we're going to focus on reincarnation because it is fascinating. It seems that's what it's all about. And how does it relate to the 4-fold process of the soul's journey in Kabbalah? Okay, so here are the key figures.
Oh, back.
I'm back.
I mean, you were here, but now you're. That's weird.
Tell me what you mean.
No, remember you said you lost the people on the side? They're back.
Okay, great. Okay, everybody can see me okay? Okay, wonderful. So, Dr. Brian Weiss, raise your hand if you've heard of Brian Weiss. Many lives, many masters. Okay, so a couple people around the table. I can't see on the Zoom screen, but Susan, can you see? Show of hands. Who's heard of Brian Weiss and his book, Many Lives, Many Masters? Okay, great. Brian Weiss wrote Many Lives, Many Masters, I believe in 1988. Let me confirm that. I don't want to get all my facts straight. He published that book in 1988. I was exposed to it shortly thereafter, just serendipitously. I was talking about something, and of all things, a critical thinking class at university, and somebody came up to me and said, what you just said is what Brian Weiss talks about in Many Lives, Many Masters. I run out to get his book. I read it. I thought what I said had nothing to do with what Brian Weiss says in Many Lives, Many Masters, but this is a synchronicity that I was given this book, because this book was very, it just leading me down this exploration of past lives and reincarnation and the spiritual realm. And as I've mentioned before, my initial introduction is my awareness that my father, who is 91 years old, may live to be 120, that he used to do automatic writing and he used to channel spirits as an attorney, as a 30-year-old. And then he gave it up because he couldn't live in both worlds. And me and my brother Mike would constantly pepper him with questions. And he said, I don't want to talk about it. I left all that behind. So Mike and I, my brother Mike, who's also an attorney, we've pursued, feel like that's our spiritual legacy, that our father to do automatic writing and channel spirits. And the door is closed on that for my brother and me, but we are pursuing it on our own. That makes sense. So I feel like I came by it naturally as a kid. And then I was introduced to Many Lives, Many Masters. It reminded me of the stories I heard from my dad and my family about my dad and his channeling, his automatic writing. And then Brian Weiss, it opened up to me again. So automatic writing is, it's sometimes called channeled writing. And this is when I get to Matt McKay, and by the way, I think Matt McKay is my guy. So I was exposed to Brian Weiss. I have all of his books. I read his books. I refer to his books. Matt McKay is my guy. And I'll tell you what I mean by that in a second. So automatic writing or channeled writing is, you get into a relaxed state, a meditative state, the person doing the automatic writing. My father had a particular pen. It's a big, thick fountain pen, and he used to keep it. He still has it. And what he would do is he'd have like a piece of paper. He'd have his special fountain pen, and his friends would gather around, and they say, Ted, we hear you're pretty good at conjuring up people who have died. My parent just passed away. These are 30-year-olds, right? My parent just passed away. Could you see if you could get in touch with my parent? So my dad would get into a relaxed state, and then the friend would ask a question. Now, the person who's doing the automatic writing can ask the question, or somebody that they're with can ask the question. So, is my loved one alive in some form? And then my father would wait, and then he'd start writing. And he would have said at that time, he wasn't writing, he was a channel, he was a medium. And so he was acting like a medium, and whatever he wrote was coming through. It's not like his hand was guided and he was possessed, but he was getting telepathic words, images, sentences. And he was writing down those words, images, and sentences. He didn't know what they meant, but the person who asked the question, they knew what it meant. And his responses seemed to resonate with them. And yes, yeah, sure. Yeah. I mean, so think about any hypnosis or in a meditative state. Now, if anybody's ever done hypnosis, it's helpful to close your eyes. But you can get in a meditative state with your eyes open. It's just a state of heightened relaxation where physiologically your brain waves slow down, and there's something called like alpha waves. I think alpha waves are really slow, and I think even slower than that are theta waves, and those are really deep, relaxed state that induces intuition. Just altered states of consciousness. So he basically entered an altered state of consciousness, not through drugs, as far as I know. And then he was able to have these intuitions, these insights that his friends were convinced were true. And my dad didn't take responsibility for it. He was a channel. He was an automatic writing. Now, Matt McKay, that I'm talking, who's on this list, Matt McKay has channeled, according to him, like 4 or 5 books with his son who was murdered in 2008, 2009. And he meets with his son every week. He has a session. Matt McKay is a clinical psychologist, so he's used to having hourly sessions with thousands of his clients or patients, and he has it with his son. And what Matt McKay does is he has like a little ritualistic space. He's got a picture. He's got a business card that his son made that means a lot to him. He lights a candle, and the candle focuses his eyes on something. He lights a candle. He's got a business card that his son wrote up before he died that Matt McKay is attached to. It's a little memento. He's got his piece of paper, and he will do deep breathing. What Matt McKay does is, Vipassana, deep breathing meditation. And all he does simply is he breathes deeply. He follows his in-breath. He follows his out-breath. For 3 to 5 minutes, he gets into a relaxed state, and then he poses a question to his son, Jordan, who has died. And he'll say, whatever, I don't know what his questions are, but he's written 5 books based on hundreds of channeling sessions, automatic writing sessions, thousands of hours. He takes detailed notes because he can't remember it all. And from those notes, he has written his books. According to Matt McKay, Jordan has said to him in this meditative state, Dad, I think we should write a book together. And Matt McKay will say, okay, what do you want the book to be? And he said, Jordan will outline the whole book in 3 to 5 minutes. He's got the chapter headings, he's got the theme, he's got the subject matter. And then the follow-up sessions are putting the content into the chapters. And what Matt McKay says when people say, well, how do you know this is not your imagination? How do you know this is not you? I should probably come up. This is a moment to come up and stop sharing. So everybody can see me better. So when people say to Matt McKay, a clinical psychologist, somebody who's very scientific, evidence-based, has healed thousands of people before he was channeling and now while he's channeling and focusing on that type of work. He works with trauma patients. He works with people who have experienced tremendous trauma. He's a very, very skilled therapist. And he also has a gift for hypnosis and for doing this. Where was I going with this? Yeah, so he writes, oh, so how do you know Professor McKay? By the way, he's a professor. He teaches at Wright University in Berkeley, PhD clinical psychologist, written 40 books, very well respected in his field. How do you know this isn't your imagination? And he said, anytime you do this type of automatic writing or channeling, it's good to doubt yourself. It's good to have a healthy doubt. You'll never know if this is coming from you or you're actually channeling another being in the spiritual realm. It's good to have doubt and skepticism about that. And he says, here's how I know it's not me. Jordan is sharing metaphysical things about the creation of the universe and about God and about this whole spiritual realm that he said, I would never dream of in a million years. I don't have the mind for this. I don't have, this isn't coming from me. I never think about this stuff. It's not of interest to me, but it's of interest to Jordan. And because of interest to Jordan, my son, it's of interest to me now. And Jordan says he wants to share this information with the world. And so Matt McKay is a great writer. He's a poet. He's written 40 books. He started a publishing house called New Harbinger Publications. If you've read any psychological books, or you have a bookshelf of psychological books like I do, many of them are from New Harbinger, and Matt McKay published them and he wrote many of them. So he's a very skilled writer. He's a great writer. But he says, it's not my voice. It's not my diction. It's not my vocabulary. It's not my cadence. This isn't how I write. It's not how I talk. So he says, those are the two pieces of evidence for me to believe it's not me. I don't know this stuff. I don't think about this stuff. It's coming from outside of me. And I don't speak. When I write it down, sometimes it's just and I'm writing furiously to keep up. It's like I'm a scribe and I'm writing furiously to keep up, and how I talk. It's not how I. So anyway, that I probably went too deep into that, and we should keep moving because I want to share the insights of Matt McKay and his son Jordan. His son was in his early 20s, died on the streets of San Francisco, and murdered. And Matt McKay went on a search, and his first book was called Seeking Jordan, where he details his search by going to mediums and other psychologists who were known to do consciousness afterlife work. He traveled around the country and he worked with them, and he was able to contact Jordan with one guy in Chicago named Bodkin, Alan Bodkin, who wrote a book called Induced Afterlife Communication. Induced Afterlife, I'm missing a word. Induced after, I'm missing a letter. Anyway, something like that. His name's Alan Bodkin. He said when Alan Bodkin did EMDR, which is a type of therapeutic treatment, right? EMDR and rapid eye movement, and reprocessing. Alan Bodkin stumbled upon with certain people. He would try to deal with trauma and help them with their trauma through this rapid eye movement. They were conjuring past lives. I mean, they were accessing. Not only past lives, they were accessing people, loved ones who had died. And they didn't just, it wasn't telepathy like what Matt McKay does. What Matt McKay does is telepathy. He gets images in his mind. He gets words in his mind when he channels Jordan. What Bodkin does is people who he does this technique with, after death communication, they literally hear voices external to them. They literally hear audible voices, and Matt McKay heard his son's voice, not in his mind, but literally as if it was on a radio or his son was in the room. And then Matt McKay said that was really meaningful, therapeutic. Jordan said, I'm okay. I'm in a good place. I'm watching. And Matt McKay said that was such a comfort as a father to know that his son was still there and his son was okay, that it was one-way communication. He wanted two-way communication. So the automatic writing is two-way communication. He had questions. Jake, we okay? Okay. Okay, is this better? You'll let me know if that's better. Sorry. Microphone. Was everybody able to hear me okay on the somewhat? Oh, I'm sorry to hear that. Yeah. Is it better now? Jake, everybody? Is this any better?
You were going in and out for a while. For
oh boy.
A minute.
Okay, just a minute. Okay,
yeah.
I'll try to catch up. So the thing about the automatic writing that Matt McKay does is it's not one way, it's two way. Questions, Jordan answers. They are in dialogue telepathically. And we're going to see how that works. Now, Matt McKay got into this because of the guy in the middle of the screen, and I'll put my screen back, and then we'll start looking at the insights because I know I'm getting too deep into the process. Michael Newton, Journey of Souls. So Matt McKay is familiar with Michael Newton's book. We're going to look at some of Michael Newton's work. And Michael Newton is the other hypnotherapist there in the middle with Brian Weiss and Matt McKay. They all do past life regression hypnotherapy. Michael Newton died in 2016. He worked with 7,000 clients doing past life regression, life between life. And that's what we're going to look at is the life between life stuff. That's where the wisdom comes in about the afterlife. So let me keep moving. I'm sorry. I feel like that took too long. So let me keep moving. Now, why can't I? Okay. So these are the insights. I got insights of Matt and Jordan. Okay. And I'm crediting Jordan because Matt McKay would credit Jordan. Can you guys still hear me? Everybody on Zoom, it's okay? Okay. I'm going to discuss it. So this was an interview Matt McKay. I've just about all of his books, but bits and pieces. Oh, Susie, you can't. All right, let me try this. How's this? Better? Is this better? This is better, Jerry. Okay, this is fine. All right. I don't know what this looks like, but right? Does this work? There's no point doing this if you can't hear me. So everybody can hear it this way? Okay, thank you, Bob. Okay, Susie, you're on my screen. Jerry, you're on my screen. You can hear it better now? Okay, Jerry, thank you. Okay, so.
Rabbi, can I interrupt for a second? What is your, the hypnotherapy is clear cut. What is past life regression before you go on?
Thank you, Mimi. Okay, past life regression means while these thousands of clients are in a relaxed state, they've been they're in a relaxed state through hypnotherapy. The therapist will say, go to the source of your pain, go to the life before this life, go to the womb. What do you remember about being in the womb? What do you remember about your past life? And the clients will start answering. Okay, so past life regression means you are doing hypnotherapy not to help somebody in their current life, but to find out and heal them in a past life or because of a past life. Does that make sense, Mimi?
Yes, that's good. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, so key insights. So Joyce, this is back to you. What is all this for? What does all this mean? I'm sorry, I didn't mean to put you on the spot. No. That's what Joyce said in the chat box. And I had said last week, maybe in a year from now, I'll get to what does this all mean for us? What do we gain from this? And I realized, no, we got the answers. And here's what we gain right now. So according to Matt McKay and his son Jordan, in the afterlife that Jordan describes, it's one in which we are all connected with love. Now, I'm not talking about that cleansing, that second stage. I'm talking about heaven. I'm talking about Gan Eden, according to Kabbalah. In the afterlife, everything and everyone is connected through love. Love is like atomic particles in the physical world, right? In the physical world, everything in the physical world is made up of atoms and molecules and subatomic particles. In the heavenly realms, in the spiritual realms, love is that connecting, what connects everything. It's all connected through love. Love is the gravity in afterlife. It is the atomic structure of everything in the afterlife. It's all about love. And that's why Matt McKay says, according to Jordan, there is no pain in the afterlife. Now, I'm going to break that down a little bit. I'm going to explain what that means. And he goes on to say, when we arrive at the landing place, we have to get used to being without bodies. That's back to the first stage of Kabbalah, right? You have to get used to, when you separate from the body, you have to get used to being without a body. And I don't want to get too bogged down into some of this. I realize with some of these insights I went too deep. But anyway, you are able to now see 360 in the spiritual realm. You can see 360. It's not through physical eyesight, it's through telepathy. You can see 360 degrees because you no longer have a body. You communicate not through hearing, through an ear, or through vocal cords and a mouth. You communicate telepathically. Mind to mind. Mind continues. The mind does not die at death. The brain dies at death, not the mind. Consciousness and the mind are eternal, according to these teachings. Okay, and you can move around. Remember I said that what happened with Jordan when he died. He could move around. He could see the paramedics. He could go to his girlfriend's house. He could go to his parents' house. He could go to his best friend's house. He was able to move around by intention, telepathically, not physically. And I know it's hard for us to understand that because we have a body, but we can picture that. We can picture that. So, but the main thing is there's no pain in the afterlife. However, there's a little bit of pain in that cleansing stage, Gehenna, in Judaism, and in this purification stage that psychologists do talk about. So let's move on. Bless you. So the key insight too. So insight number one, the afterlife is all about love, and there is no pain in heaven. There's no pain in heaven. It's all about love. Everything is connected. Okay, but before you get there, now we're at stage 2 of Kabbalah, and this is what the modern psychologists would agree with. In some cases, we have to go through a process of recovering from a lot of pain. This is Matt McKay, again, talking as a therapist, as a clinical psychologist his entire life, and what Jordan is saying. We have to recover from the pain that we've experienced in life. A lot of emotions that may show up, that have shown up, anger, fear, shame, distress. You can't go into the spirit world. You can't get to heaven with those emotions. You've got to cleanse yourselves of those emotions. And so we go through periods of healing where there are special souls who have skills at healing and soothing and supporting us in this stage of emotional cleansing, purgation, purification, what Judaism would call Gehenna or hell. That's where this is taking place. And Tibetan, they talk about bardo states, interim states. It's a bardo state. And finally, when those emotions are resolved, we are prepared to enter heaven, the afterlife where it's all love and there's no pain. And we move into the spirit world, we begin new processes, and mostly the spirit world is about learning. So the other insight, I'm combining insights here, that there is this recovery cleansing process where we deal with any emotional pain, trauma. We cannot bring that trauma into heaven. It's got to be dealt with in this sort of bardo state, this intermediate state, what Judaism calls Gehenna, and then you moved on to the spiritual world. And this is what I love as somebody, and we talked about this last week, as somebody who's a lifelong learner. And I love Joyce. You had said it's a good book title, Lives Long Learning. The spirit world is all about learning. The spirit world is all about learning. It's about love and it's about learning. Those two things, love and learning, L and L. Love and learning. That's what the spirit world is about, according to Matt McKay, Michael Newton, and Brian Weiss. They all say the same thing. It's about learning and it's about love. Yes. What does it look like to us? Well, and here's again, and I'll take a stop sharing the screen. Here's where Judaism says 11 months. And why? No, but that's Judaism. I'm going with these guys. These, Judaism, said it how many centuries ago, right? They didn't have and it's anecdotal evidence. I mean, some people say, hey, a scientist is going to say, I don't care about anecdotal evidence. I want to be able to replicate it. I want measures. I want placebos, control groups, and any anecdotal evidence is unacceptable. That's fine. And by the way, if you believe that way, that's fine. That's fine. What we're saying tonight is you sort of, it either makes sense to you or it doesn't. Can't prove it. Can't prove any of this. Can't prove God exists. You can't prove there's a spiritual realm. You can't prove there's reincarnation, although there is anecdotal evidence for reincarnation. But that's what's going on here. And so how long does it last? According to McKay and Brian Weiss and Michael Newton, who knows? But here's the thing about the spiritual realm. What's 11 months to us is a blip. It's nothing. Time doesn't exist in the spiritual realm the way it does for us. So who knows? But I'll say this. Let's say somebody brought a lot of pain in the world. I mean, they murdered people. Pol Pot, Hitler. Whenever I say Hitler, I know I'm opening up a can of worms because, we don't even want to think that Hitler gets to be cleansed. He just should be eternally damned. But here is the thing that Michael Newton says and Matt McKay says, and I think Brian Weiss would say too. Those people who are really evil, for lack of a better word, evil, they do wrong, they hurt, they murder thousands or millions of people. They got a lot of cleansing to do. But they will be cleansed because God is a benevolent God. And remember, the spiritual life, once you get cleansed, it's about love, it's about learning. So somebody who caused a lot of pain in this world is going to have a lot of cleansing to do in the spiritual realms. And when they're reincarnated, they might choose to come back as a victim. After they've done their cleansing and they learn, we're going to see what they do. We're going to see how they learn through a life review. They're going to say, okay, I really messed up. Forgive me. I am not trying to underplay this. But let's not use those extreme cases. Let's use the case of maybe somebody who murdered one person or hurt people or destroyed businesses. Is they experience what they did from the perspective of the person they hurt in this cleansing realm. This 360 is not their 360, able to perceive their actions in the spiritual realm from all the people around them, their victims, anybody else. Is it still going out, Jake? Bottom line, microphones at Temple Sinai need to be improved. That is insight. That's Rabbi Rick's insight, number one. We need to get better microphones here. So hopefully this is better. I hope you understood some of what I just said.
All of it. All of it.
Sorry. Okay.
He's giving himself.
All right.
It was
Need a whole team. Let me do this. I want to get there. I want to get to that point, but let me share my screen with everybody. Hopefully that made sense. All right, everybody, give me a second. My screen is completely full, so I have to change it to share my screen again. Okay, I didn't see it. Okay, let me share this once again. So you can see that, and now I know I have to change this. Okay. Oh, okay. No worries. Let's keep moving, guys. Okay. So now we're back in the spiritual realms, and I just want to get to Matt McKay. And how do I reduce my screen? Okay, because that's confusing me. Okay. So insight number 3 by Matt and Jordan. The afterlife, it's about connecting, it's about loving, but a lot of it's about learning. And the first thing we do when we get there is to go through the life review according to Jordan, seeing your life and what happened in it, is experiencing your life as you and all your major choices that you made in your interactions with people. All those choices you experience as you experience them, and you experience them as the other person experiences them. In other words, the murderers of the world are going to experience what that murder was like from the perspective of their victims. And they're not going to do it as punishment. They're going to do it as learning. They're going to do it as soul growth. Because any soul, any person who incarnates, the purpose of that soul is to learn and to grow and to evolve. That is why that soul exists. So even the souls and the spirits of really evil people, they have the same job to do as we have to do, and that is to learn and to grow and to elevate and to transcend the pain of this world and to try to live a good life and all those ethical values that we have in Judaism. That's what we all need to be doing in this world. And if we're causing harm, we need to recognize the harm that we caused. If we don't recognize in this world, we have to recognize it in the next world through this life review. And we're gonna learn the lesson, not through fire and brimstone and torture. We're gonna learn it through experiencing it through the eyes and the feelings, metaphorical eyes and feelings of victims. You feel the impact of the choices. We feel the impact of the choices we make on everybody who our choices have impacted. We experience that. And over time. So that's how this is so different. This is the major difference between the Kabbalistic view, which again was written during the Middle Ages. So people who use their tongue for slander, they're held up by their tongues like on a rack. Their tongues are on a hook and they're held by that. To get even more graphic, people who commit sexual immorality, you can imagine what happens to that metaphorical sexual organ in the spiritual realm. That is how Kabbalah talks about it. That is not how Matt McKay and Brian Weiss and Michael Newton talk about it. The afterlife, God is a benevolent God. God is a good, loving God, a just God, and we have to experience the impact of our harmful actions. We have to learn from it, but we're not going to be punished. So in this concept of the afterlife, it's non-judgmental. Non-judgmental. Yeah, Bob? Can you, why don't we pass that around if that works? Thank you, Susan. So we have a question, so I'm going to stop the share. Green, if it's green, it works.
So is the pain in Kabbalistic physical pain as opposed to psychic pain, which is what McKay seems to be talking about?
I think a Kabbalist would say, it's hard to, it maybe is akin to a physical pain. The psychic pain would be akin to physical pain. But since you're in a spiritual realm, it's sort of a different way to experience the physical. Maybe it's a telepathic experience of physical pain. And I probably McKay says the same, I keep saying McKay, but his name's Matt McKay. Dr. McKay. I think they would say too, there is some type of pain that is produced, but I don't think we can understand it because it's purely spiritual. But again, it's not in heaven because remember, there's no pain in heaven. So it's in this Bardo state. It's in this, and Bardo means intermediate state. It's in this intermediate state of the cleansing. But it is some type of, oh wow, I did this. This is what I did. This is how it felt. Whew, I shouldn't do that again. I hope I don't do that again. Maybe I choose to come back in another life and be a victim of somebody else's torture and abuse because I did that. I deserve to be a victim of that, to learn from it that way. So souls choose to incarnate according to Dr. Newton, and I would say Matt McKay would say something similar, and maybe Brian Weiss. This is karma. This is you come back on the receiving end of what you did to learn from it, not as a punishment, but to learn the lesson better than you might just by going through a life review. Yeah, Bob. Okay, let's do that. So Bob has a follow-up, and then let's do the online question.
Okay.
I can't see it if you could.
And I might be jumping the gun here and going into like insight number 50.
Uh,
But in Eastern religion, Buddhism and Hinduism, you want to escape this wheel of
Right.
birth and death, reincarnation, to escape the wheel of life.
let me just ask, can everybody just said? Great. Please keep going.
So,
Right. In Eastern religions, you want to escape the reincarnation, the
But-
wheel of returning.
but in this situation,
In this situation,
it doesn't show any escape route. There's no exit ramp.
well, there is an exit ramp, and it's a choice. So a soul, we're jumping to inside 20, or whatever it is. But let's answer the question. Remember, the purpose is to learn and to grow and to evolve. So what Dr. McKay and Dr. Newton would say is that most of us will experience thousands of lifetimes. Thousands. I mean, Michael Newton in some of his work, going back to Cro-Magnon, like 50,000 BCE, he talks about in his books, that's how many lives we live. And at a certain point, a soul chooses to incarnate. And at a certain point, a soul that is very advanced says, you know what? I think I've learned everything I have to learn from this returning to earth, this school that I keep. I now want to work in heaven. And I know Bob's giving me a furrowed brow. There are jobs, there are careers in the spiritual realms, according to Michael Newton and Matthew McKay. And those careers are being God, soul families to soul groups. Those careers are being master guides. There's like a hierarchy that Michael Newton talks about in Journey of Souls and Destiny of Souls. There is like, it's almost like I don't know what to compare it to, a corporation, an institution of where there are teachers and assistant professors and deans, and these are my words, but their words are, there is a hierarchy of soul advancement, and the really advanced souls are sort of at the higher levels of this, and they're not reincarnating. They are doing life review, doing this cleansing at that, cleansing state. They are guides to souls on earth. They are teachers of other guides. They are teaching people in heaven, teaching spirits in heaven about God and about something called the Akashic Record. The Akashic Record has been talked about. Remember last week we talked about the Book of Life. The Akashic Record is that every action on earth is recorded in the spiritual realms. Every thought, every feeling, every action, every happen is recorded, and it's uploaded to heaven like a database, like a library. and people, spirits in the in the heavenly realms, they are studying this library, and they are becoming perfect in the Akashic record. And what Matthew McKay and Michael Newton, I think Matthew McKay more so talks about, but I think Michael Newton talks about this. I'm more familiar with Matthew McKay's work than I am Michael Newton's, but I've read a little bit of Michael Newton. So how this works is when you're doing a life review and you're looking at the Akashic record, you're looking at your choices and the consequences of your choices. You can also look at, what if I would have done this? What would that consequence have been? And you can study that. If Abraham Lincoln, the example that I think Matt McKay gives, if Abraham Lincoln didn't give the Gettysburg Address, but he said it in another way, what would be the consequences of that speech? And apparently it's all in this Akashic spiritual realm, and souls could spend a long time studying that. And so Jordan, for example, somebody said to ask Matt McKay, what's Jordan doing? Well, Jordan, part of his soul is in another life right now. He's incarnated in the life of a young girl of color somewhere else. Soul is still up in the spiritual realms, and his soul is learning how to change group consciousness on earth to reduce violence and tribalism and war and bring peace to this planet. That Jordan is learning how to affect our consciousness through his consciousness, and to make this world a less violent place. So there are careers in heaven, according to Michael Newton and Matt McKay. And we can choose to have those careers. We can choose to reincarnate. Our soul can divide, which we can get to. Part of our soul can be down here on earth incarnating. Another part of our soul can be up in heaven, doing anything we want to do in heaven, that there are jobs to do. There are things to do. Yeah, please. Is there a finite number of souls? I think there, if the way I understand how the soul spiritual realm works and how God works is, just as there are billions and billions of planets and suns, and this universe is vast beyond our knowledge, and the space is vast beyond how we can even comprehend, the spiritual space is that big too. So I don't get the sense, I have not read anything where there's no more room in heaven. And we're going to look at something really profound that Jordan says, that, by the way, Jewish mysticism says too. And that is, let me get there. So how about this? Let me get there. And if we can, was there one other question on the chat? What was, I can take one and let's keep moving. So Susan, you pick. Wonderful point. So I hope you heard that. Why isn't the world better? Now I want to answer that two ways. Science or sociologists and ethnologists, people who demographic work, they will tell you there is less war and violence on this planet that there was 1,000 years ago. And you can see this on YouTube. Yes, there's less war, there is less violence, there is less rape. They all still exist, but it is less than it was 1,000 years ago, 2,000 years ago, 10,000 years ago. So I think we are evolving. Now, according to Michael Newton, there are 5 levels of soul, similar to Judaism, actually. Judaism believes in 5 levels of soul, but it's different. According to Michael Newton, there are level 1, level 2, 3, 4, 5. Most people, Michael Newton says, who incarnate are level 1 and 2. Most of this world is made up of level 1 and 2. These are not very evolved souls. When you get to level 3, sort of like at the healer level, you're at the empathic level, the compassionate level, people pursuing peace, people who are wanting to help the environment, heal the environment. Anybody who's doing tikkun olam, and that's level 3 soul. Level 4 soul is Gandhi, Martin Luther King, Nelson Mandela. people who are willing to give their life and sacrifice their life to better, a bodhisattva, somebody willing to incarnate to help others. They're doing it selflessly. That's level 4. And there are very few level 4 souls. Looking around this table and the people on Zoom, I think we got a lot of level 3 souls here. I really do. I think we got level 3 souls right here. Level 4, that's hard to get to. But maybe we know level 4 souls. Maybe, when Tina said she's willing to donate her organs to save life, and other people said we are too, and now I'm not ready. Maybe you guys are at level 4 and I'm 5's hard to get to. I think the righteous ones, like the righteous of nations or the Lamed Vavniks, I think that's level 3. Michael Newton. We have to study Michael Newton a little bit more. I really like Matthew McKay stuff more because to me it's just more relevant to us where we're at right now. Michael Newton, huh? No, he died in 2016, but he's got his books, and I'm going to show you. He's got a whole institute. So he's got a lot of other therapists who he's trained to carrying on his work, and I'm going to show you the link to that. But I don't think we need to get to level 5 right now, but let's keep going if we can. I want to keep going because there's so much to get through, guys. Can you all see my screen? Everybody can see
one
my screen.
comment, Rabbi, one comment. Michael Newton says that level 5 is the level at which people don't need to reincarnate anymore.
Thank you, Carol. Thank you. So once Gandhi and give me a second. Can everybody see now? I keep going back. You can't see that. Okay, I'm sorry. So thank you, Carol. I'm trying to do 2 things at once. I'm not good at it.
Yes, you are.
Is that it? Is that it? Okay, that's not it. Oh, I got it. No, I'm gonna proceed. Everybody can see that? Okay. So what Carol said, Carol did some research there. So what Michael Newton says is a level 5 soul doesn't need to incarnate on earth anymore. They are the master guides. They are the people up in heaven, doing the research and helping to, send their vibes down to us. And I don't know if Jordan's a level 5. Maybe that's a question for Matt McKay. We should write Matt McKay and say the next time you channel Jordan. By the way, he does it on Shabbat. He does it on Saturdays. Then yeah, Matt McKay's still very much alive. The next time you channel Jordan, ask him if he's a level 5 soul according to Michael Newton, or if he's a level 4. That'd be a really good question. But what Carol is saying is that would make sense when you no longer have. But no, he's not a level 5 because he's incarnating. He's incarnating in a young woman of color, so he's still level 4. Yes. So what Shelley's asking is, can you choose to incarnate? See, here's how I think this hierarchy works in heaven. I think that, the upper level management is like, hey, maybe you want to incarnate again. We appreciate it. We need you up here. You don't split your soul anymore. Don't split your soul energy. Stay here for a little bit. And don't do it. You know what I mean? I mean, that's the logic of this. I mean, once you accept these premises, there is a logic to it. And I'm not saying you have to accept these premises. You can say this is so ridiculous and woo-woo and so far out there. It's like your brain's falling out of your head, Rabbi. And that's fair. I accept that. But I'm with Matt McKay. He's a sharp cookie. He is very grounded. And I hope I am too. So, but it makes sense to me. Yeah. Right. Yeah. Yeah. They talk about some of this past life regression. You can incarnate as an animal. If you choose to, you can incarnate as an animal. Okay. All right, guys, let's keep moving. We gotta keep moving. I'm sorry. Let's keep going. Okay, so here's insight number 4. Can you believe it? We got another 9 of these. Okay. So once, and by the way, we're back to the cleansing. We can return to our soul group in heaven and begin renewing relationships with family members, friends who we are connected with on earth. We incarnate as a group. We have soul groups. Most likely, if you feel really connected to a family member, you guys are soulmates. You guys are in a soul group together. So we people usually incarnate as in groups, in their soul group, and there's a guide, a spirit guide that sort of manages the group and guides the group like a coach. And I'm going to skip that thing about souls can imagine things up in the spiritual realms. Whatever. It's interesting. I don't think it's relevant to us right now. But what's relevant with key insight number 4, we return to our soul group in heaven. We are reunited with our loved ones who have died and who are still incarnating those earth because we can split our soul energy, and we are connecting with them in the spiritual realms. And as Matt McKay said, there's laughter, there's humor, there's joking, there's like, oh, you really messed that one up. Oh yeah, when you did that was Hope, what do you think about that? So there's kidding that goes on in the soul group. There's humor, which is nice to hear. To me, that's very Jewish, by the way. Now this is what's awesome. This is like Jewish theology, Kabbalah 101. Check this out. And this is what Jordan said. And by the way, this is what I love. Matt McKay said in 2 podcasts that I've listened to about 6 of his podcasts in addition to reading his books. He says that he and Jordan were in yeshiva together. They were rabbis together in a yeshiva, and Jordan was this rebel rabbi thinking outside the box, and Matt McKay was his disciple, and Matt was more conservative and more, by the book. And so I want to write Matt McKay, and I want the subject line to read from one rabbi to another. And can we meet the next time you're in LA? Because I have a lot of questions if you're interested. Yeah. No, McKay, But here's the thing about we incarnated. According to this, we've all incarnated. We've been different genders. We've been different religions. We've been different sexualities, perhaps. We've done it all in different incarnations. And so Matt McKay is saying he and Jordan were in yeshiva together. And so this to me is very Kabbalistic, what Jordan is saying. The physical universe is inside the spirit world. That's very Kabbalistic. This physical world, we sometimes think that the spiritual world is up there. We go vertical. Think of it as a circle. The circle is the spiritual world. We are spirits having a physical experience. Like Sting said, and Sting wasn't the first one to say it. Many other, George Harrison said it. We are spirits in a material world. And the spiritual world is what we're inside of. And the physical manifestation of that is in the spiritual world. We are inside a spirit world. The physical is inside the spiritual world. And think about this, and this is how it relates to God. We are a part of God. We are a spark of God. We connect with God, and we're doing it in the spiritual realm at all times. And when we're in the physical world incarnating, we're uploading our experiences, our physical experiences to God, who's in the spiritual world. And just one other thing, we can observe the physical universe, and in fact, its entire history, we can watch from the spirit world. That's the Akashic record. That's everything that's ever happened on earth. It's uploaded in the spiritual realms. They have access to it. We have access to it. It says no internet connection. Is everybody still there, Susan? Okay. Can you guys still hear me?
Yes.
Okay, great. Okay. I want to keep going. I want to leave it at that. I just want to leave you with that idea, but let's keep going and we're going to understand it. Let's go to insight number 6. And this is profound. And Michael Newton, I'm going to give the quote. He takes credit for this discovery. It's a brilliant discovery. And I'll give you how Matt McKay says it. Then I'll give you how Michael Newton says it. I like how Matt McKay, like I say, he's a writer. I can connect with his writing. Part of our soul energy always remains in the spirit world. And when we incarnate, part of our energy, only part of our energy enters the physical body and, of course, goes through this forgetting process, this amnesia. We have to forget. There's no learning that takes place if we remember everything when we incarnate. No learning will take place. And so so we live these lives here without that knowledge, but part of our soul energy always remains in the spirit world. So our soul group is really always together there. That's why your parents and your grandparents, if they've died and they're incarnated, you can still connect with them when you go to heaven because they're still part of their spirit energy is up in heaven. They've split their spirit energy. They're down here on earth incarnating. They're still in heaven. And part of us is always in heaven. Part of our spirit is always in heaven. And we're going to see the numbers according to Michael Newton now. Michael Newton, I love how he says this. This is in his book. I think this was in his book, A Journey of the Souls, and I think he developed it more in his next book, Destiny of the Souls. He said, and this is in a podcast interview, and you check him out. Go on Apple, listen to him. He's amazing. My jaw drops listening to these guys. And Michael Newton says in this podcast, it's one of the great discoveries that I made early on in his hypnotherapy work, that in fact, we don't bring all our soul energy into any one body at any one time. The average person probably brings 50 to 60% of their energy, of their particular soul, down to earth, 50 to 60%. Now, a really advanced soul can come down and they're at 25%. They got most of their soul up in the spirit world. They're only coming down with 25. That's the level 4 soul. But most of people, 2 3s, we're bringing 50 to 60% of the energy of our soul. It's like a hologram. I had to look up exactly what a hologram is. But whatever the constituents up in heaven, the same constituents are down here, but in physical form. I mean, forgive me, I don't know. I'm not a scientist. But that's what he means by a hologram. And he uses that analogy a lot in Journey of the Souls. It's like a hologram. You've got your spiritual makeup up in heaven. You've got it down here. You're physically manifesting, but that spiritual makeup is still a part of you. It's a hologram. It's a duplicate. So the remaining portion is exactly like any other part. And so it's a very comforting thing. So he's talking about in heaven. It's very comforting to always be able to see people that you've associated with, even those who've already incarnated. Your parents are, if they've died, grandparents, they've already incarnated. Now, the other aspect of this is that, of course, in your own timeline, you'll have people who have been very much a part of your life who are in your soul group. It could be a brother, a sister. It could be, of course, be a spouse and so forth, whatever. It could be anybody, a business associate, you name it. Anybody that you really feel connected to in this life are most likely, according to this cosmology, this system, a spiritual system, most likely they're in your soul group. That's why you feel so connected. They're in your soul group. There are certain people in my family I am extremely connected to. I don't get it. No, they're still alive. They're still alive. Yeah, no, I am deeply, profoundly connected to them. And I will say, after studying this, if they can receive it, I said it to one person, I want to be anonymous. I want to retain the privacy with this. I've said to my family members, we're going to be together forever. I know it. Yeah. So get used to it. I'm here for you. We're here for each other. We are connected, eternally connected. I can't prove it. I feel it. I intuit it. Based on this research, it makes perfect sense. So anyway, let's keep moving. So that is a profoundly comforting thing, right?
to know, right? If you have a spouse, you've lost a spouse, a parent, a sibling, somebody you're close to, you are forever connected to them. They are in your soul group. Even though they may reincarnate again, you are together in heaven. Your soul energy is together, and it's never going to leave you. That's a pretty amazing thought. So Susie said it sounds schizophrenic. So here's the thing. On earth, yeah, it does. In a spiritual realm, which each of us really doesn't have access to right now, unless we're really intuitive, unless we're psychic, unless we're a level 4 soul who intuits this stuff and can feel it on earth, we don't understand it. So I don't know that the schizophrenic works. I don't know that that label works in the spiritual realm. But according to these guys, this is how we can connect with loved ones in heaven, which everybody reports near-death experiences, afterlife experiences. Everybody says the same thing. I see my loved one. And then they'll say, oh, then there's a really neat thing Michael Newton says. Let me stop the share because this is amazing. This is brilliant. Michael Newton says, sometimes people report with a near-death experience or through a hypnotic regression. Oh, I feel Jesus coming to me. Like I'm going toward the light and this being is coming to me and it's Jesus or it's Moses or whatever. Michael Newton says, that's not who it is. It's your spirit guide. It's your spirit guide that you recognize. This is the coach. This is your, what's the word, Steve, in the business world? Mentor. This is your mentor. This is your spirit guide. This is your coach. You're recognizing them. You think it's Jesus. It's your spirit guide that's been assigned to you. Get back to the, very nice, Philip. I love it. Yeah, get back to the garden, Gan Eden. Get back to the Garden of Eden. Yes, the soul wants to get back to the garden. Michael Newton says, that thing we talked about, the soul in Judaism being around for 7 days, being disoriented. Michael Newton says the souls at level 3, whatever, they can't wait to get back home. They can't wait to get back to the garden. The level 1, level 2 souls, they want to hang around a little bit more. But the souls that have been here before that are advanced, they can't wait to get back to the spirit world. When they die, they don't want to hang around that much. I like most AIs, but AI is a good example from the standpoint that when I said database, at some point isn't AI going to know everything that ever, right? Any written document, any YouTube, any music, anything that we've created. It's the Akashic record, the book of life that we talk about in Judaism is similar, but it's more. It's more than AI will know because any thought, any feeling is recorded apparently in this what's called the Akashic record. Akashic is an Indian word that was coined for this sort of database, this library up in heaven. Yeah. Well, they're not evil souls. The soul can't be evil. People can do evil in this world, but the soul is not evil. There's no, that's an oxymoron. It's a contradiction. You cannot have an evil soul. And Michael Newton talks about this. People who do evil, it may be because their brain chemistry, they have an abnormal brain chemistry. It may be the way they were raised. Maybe the trauma they experienced in their childhood is making them do bad things. It's culturally conditioned. It could be nature in the standpoint of brain chemistry. It could be nurture from the standpoint of they were conditioned to do these evil things. They were brought up in homes that they were not loved the way they need to be loved, and they started acting out violently at various levels. But the soul is pure, and Judaism says this, the soul that you, with the prayer we say in the morning, the soul that you have given me, God, is pure. The Shama is pure. The soul is pure. Evil is what we do down here. There is no evil in the spiritual world. There's no evil in heaven. There's no pain. Huh? No, the hell that we're talking about is the cleansing that takes place And again, that is benevolent. That's non-judgmental. It's not punishment. It's learning. It's growing. It's detention. You know, you go to detention. Do you realize why you're here? Do you know why you're in detention today on Saturday? Okay, thank you. And by the way, I wanted to get to that, and it was on my list. And somebody asked this last week. Let's talk about suicide. It's important. We all may know somebody who has committed suicide. They may be in our family. It may be a friend, maybe you know, somebody that we heard about. And so here's what Michael Newton says, and I'm just going to quote you because I don't want to get it wrong. So give me one moment. I want to tell you what Michael Newton says about suicide. Well, he says what Michael Newton says, and I think Newton does a better. You know, it's more direct. So give me 1 second. I've got too much information here, too much paperwork. Bear with me because this is important. So this is what Michael Newton says about it. He views suicide as a failure to complete pre-birth agreements with guides. So when we incarnate, and by the way, I'm not sharing, am I still sharing the screen? Okay. So when we choose to incarnate, we meet with our guides and the guide says, okay, what do you want to do? What do you want your life to look like? What do you want to work on? Let's talk about what you need to work on. You got Rick, you got an anger management issue when you're driving. You want to work on your anger? You want to work on your patience? Yeah. I'll do it. Send me to LA. Put me on the 405. Put me in Burbank where people drive 20 miles an hour when they could drive 40, right? And you're going to learn how to deal with that, Rick. So we choose. Here's the amazing thing. And this is hard, by the way. Theologically, this is hard. But I want to put it out there that we have a role, we have choice, we always have choice, and that we choose to incarnate in a certain body, in a certain family, in a certain way. And I know this is hard to stomach because you could say, I did not choose to have an abusive parent. I did not choose to be sexually assaulted. I did not choose this. And absolutely, I'm not trying to minimize that. But on a soul level, if the purpose on earth is to learn, and we're going to get to this, certain experiences, we always have choice, and certain environments and scenarios are going to cause greater learning, quicker learning, more in-depth learning. I'm going to get there in a second. So let me hold it. I'm sorry, I should park that thought. I want to get to it, but I'm just trying to unpack this so that we make agreements with our guide. Here's how we're going to incarnate. Here's what we want to work on. And then we have a little bit of a choice. Okay, the guide will say, you want to be here with this family, with this body, in this part of the world. You want to be here in this environment, in this part of the world, and we get to choose. And people who commit suicide, they made an agreement, they wanted to work on something, and they forgot their purpose. They forgot why we're here, why they're here. So it leads to disappointment in that cleansing realm when someone who commits suicide, according to Michael Newton, when they go back in the spiritual realm and they're in the cleansing realm and they're with their guide, and the guide's like, okay, this sort of isn't what we had taught, it's what we planned. Disappointing, not judgment, not shame, just maybe some disappointment. And it's not punishment. Clients report no hellish consequences. Again, part of that life review. And then the soul who has committed suicide, the person who's committed suicide, the soul will express regret for lacking courage, for lacking the courage to face whatever they were trying to face in their incarnation. And they have to repeat similar lessons in future lives, not as punishment, but to learn the lesson that they didn't learn by committing suicide. So it's almost like saying, I'm going to sign up for a class and then you don't take the exam. You drop the class. That's sort of what suicide means to Michael Newton. Yeah, they probably need to reincarnate. Otherwise, they're not going to learn that lesson. They need to learn that lesson. They need to learn one needs to learn how to handle that difficulty that one chose in a way that doesn't lead to suicide. But back to Judaism, choose life. Do it in a way, learn the lesson that you can choose life. Okay, no. And by the way, I want us to feel like, hey, I like this and I don't like that. You do not need to accept any of this in full, except, if anything, what resonates with you, and let go of what doesn't resonate with you. Yeah, totally. So, and then to continue, so that setback through suicide delays advancement as the soul forgoes intended growth, but healing does occur through counseling in that spiritual realm, that Bardo cleansing state. No eternal damnation, just extended learning cycles. Got to come back, take the class over again. You signed up for that class, you got to take it over, huh? In that case, you can't. If you haven't evolved enough, that you got to keep coming back until you graduate. I don't know. Maybe. Well, let me keep going with the new. I want to keep going because I feel like there's more to get through, and I don't want to end it at that. Because that's heavy, and it is an explanation for suicide, and you can either like the explanation or not. You don't have to accept it. But that's just what Michael Newton says about it, and Matt McKay would say something similar, that suicide is a it was, come back again. If it was too hard to learn the lesson, come back again and try again. Okay, let me get back. I keep losing my screen. Is there a way I can do this without having to go back to the beginning each time? All right, you guys see my, yeah, okay. Okay. Everybody can see? Okay. So key insight number 7, we took a little bit of detour, but it's an important one, and I wanted to get to that. The soul has the awareness of perhaps hundreds of lifetimes that we've lived and all of the things that we've learned in spirit. Now, that's up in the spiritual realm, not when we have amnesia when we come down. One of the things the soul, I'm trying to remove something from my screen. One of the things souls do is periodically merge with the divine, very briefly merge and have huge downloads of knowledge, experience, and awareness in those merging experiences. That's the 4th level of Kabbalah, right? That's the Betzor HaChaim, the merging with God, the being bound up with God. So this idea of connecting with God in a very deep way is, again, that 4th level of soul. And again, that takes place, according to Simcha Raphael, right before we reincarnate. I mean, it helps us to reincarnate. That merging with the divine, that sort of huge download of knowledge, experience, and awareness helps us to incarnate again. Why can't I? Oh, okay. Did I switch an insight? Uh-oh. Why is this jumping? Sorry, guys. Okay, here we go. All right, this is so profound, and this comes from Matt McKay, and this is so brilliant. I'm going to get to it. Our soul and spirit and other guides that we might turn to are very, very reluctant to give us any information about the future, because that's what we need to grapple with here. This is not fortune telling. This is not prophecy. If we know our future, we're not going to do the work. We have to be, and there's a teaching in Judaism that in the womb, an angel teaches us everything, and then right before we go through the birth canal, with my kids, a C-section, right before we're taken out, an angel touches right above our lip. You got it, Shelley? And we forget everything. That's a Jewish teaching. That's why we have what do you call that thing? Perneum or perneum or perdellum, something is something. That indent, yes, thank you. That indent is the angel touching us, giving us amnesia, because if we remembered it all, why are we here? No, maybe. I don't think it's Lilith. Could be. Maybe. Could be. Let's look it up. Look it up, Shelley. Is that Lilith or is it somebody else? Okay. Okay. So let me keep going while Shelley's looking it up. So we need the uncertainty on earth. We need uncertainty. If we knew it all, we wouldn't do any learning. There's no reason to take a test. There's no reason to take a class if you know it all. You wouldn't sign up for college if you knew it all. Frenellum, I thought I was close. Something like that. Frenellum. Okay. We need uncertainty on earth because we come here to learn. Back to this is the school. And they all say that. This is Earth School. And there are other planetary schools that are less difficult. This is a tough school. According to Michael Newton and Matt McKay, this is the Harvard. I said this. This is the toughest school there is, this planet Earth. There's a lot of pain here. So we come here to take very seriously all these problems in our lives and some of the very serious pain that shows up in our lives. And this is what I love about Matt McKay, what he says, that pain is teaching us. That's our purpose in incarnating on this planet. That the pain that we experience in this world is some of it purposeful. Some of the pain is purposeful. If we had no pain, right? No pain, no gain. If life was all rainbows and unicorns and lollipops, there's no growth. There's no nourishment with a lollipop. It tastes good. You don't get any nourishment. Doesn't help you grow. So there needs to be pain. And by the way, this is what I love about Thich Nhat Hanh, the Zen Buddhist, who's one of my favorite spiritual teachers, passed away. I don't think he believed in any of this stuff, but he did say something that's aligned with this. Thich Nhat Hanh said, Zen Buddhist, nominated by Martin Luther King for the Nobel Peace Prize, touched millions of lives, wrote 60 books, touched millions of lives. One of the greatest spiritual teachers that I have ever had, who I never met, but through his works. He said, I don't want to live in a world where there is not pain and suffering. Because in a world where there is no pain and suffering, there is no compassion, there is no understanding. He's saying the same thing. Pain is teaching us that's our purpose in incarnating on this planet. Yeah, Susan, so related to that, okay, gratitude's great and positive emotions are great, but life isn't all positive emotions and gratitude. Life is suffering. Life is sadness and grief and anger and jealousy and shame and all those negative emotions that we feel. I don't think there is any enlightened person, including the Dalai Lama, that doesn't experience craving and pain and loss and sadness and moments of despair. Now, maybe he's more elevated than most of us, but it's positive psychology is not truly positive psychology if it does not account for the true suffering of this world. This does. This accounts for the suffering in this world. So let's keep going. I want to get to that too, because we're going to circle back to it with Matt McKay. This is what we said last week, and I want to reiterate it. What do we learn? We learn that our loved ones on the other side. No, I'm sorry. I don't mean to. No, it was a great challenge. You know, I asked the question and you underscored it. I don't know. You'd have to look at the chat. You want me to tell you what you said? All right. Oh, to send the chat with everybody. All right. So anyway, Joyce, I don't know why we have to do this. I would love a class on what is the purpose of all this. You said it. It's in the chat. And I agree with you. All this is about purpose. You know, I'm not into the learning that has no purpose. I'm a very practical learner. I want to know what's the application. If there's no application, I really don't care. I'm overstating it. I like theory, I like research, but if there's no application, it's incomplete. So I hope we're getting to the application. And one of the major pieces of application is our loved ones on the other side are just a thought away. As soon as you think about them, you are connected to them. As Matt McKay says, you're opening a channel for relationship communication. Yeah, this is great. Isn't this great? That our loved ones are just a thought away. So yeah, I look forward to seeing the chat. Yeah, we'll share the chat. We'll send it out as a, everybody's going to probably have to email Susan because it's her idea. You email Susan at temple-sinai.net, and then if you want the chat, Susan will share that with you. Okay. Yes, once I send you to the chat. Okay, let's keep going. Continuing on this insight. I changed it to you because he was like saying they, and I was just making it more personal. I was just changing the person. You learn that your loved one is not gone. They're right there. Death doesn't take them away. Death doesn't change in any way the love between you. And so when you learn that, it's a profound gift that you get to carry in your life. This is the benefit of this work, is if you believe what they're saying is true, you are learning right now that even though you may be separated physically at this time with your loved one who has died, you are not separated spiritually. You will never be separated spiritually, and they are just a thought away. That's probably one of the biggest takeaways, right? This is the 60, what do you call this? This is the $1 million, the $1 million answer. So that's a great teaching. It's very comforting to know that. Anyway, for those of you who have lost a loved one, we all have. If once the grief is gone and you can, the grief may always be there, but once the grief doesn't overpower the love and the connection, I hope you have a sense that you are still connected to your loved ones, right? You do now. Great, you do. I love it. And I told you before when I saw those butterflies, I'm like, hey, Larry dropped by. That's my connection with Larry. When I thought of Larry and that butterfly, maybe he and I were connected in that moment, because I was thinking of him. Right. Because Larry was in butterflies and other people too. I mean, Ruth Divine, the Divines talked about, in their family, the importance of butterflies. And there is a spiritual connection between butterflies and souls that's in many cultures. And so when you connect with your thoughts, with your loved ones, it's almost as if, like I say, you just picked up a telephone and they're like, oh, hi, hey. Yeah, Andrea Gibson. Shelley is saying, I don't know if you can all get hear that. So Shelley is saying around the table, there is a poem called Love Letter from the Afterlife by Andrea Gibson. Wait, but somebody pass a microphone, Bob. It's right near you. Let's pass that to Shelley. Is a green light there, Shelley, at the bottom in the middle? You see a green light?
So she says, my love, I was so wrong. Dying is the opposite of leaving. When I left my body, I did not go away. Whoops. That portal of light was not a portal to elsewhere, but a portal to here. I am more here than I ever was. And I can't keep reading it. More with you than I ever could have imagined. So it just talks about how she's really more here now that she's gone.
Yeah. That was her partner. This is the poet Andrea Gibson was talking about her partner, or when she died and she left this for her partner. She left this for her partner. She's going to be more connected now than ever. And I'm going to save my story if I have time, because Oprah Winfrey and talking to Brian Weiss, and I promise you, Brian Weiss regressed Oprah. He regressed Sylvester Stallone. I'm sure he's regressed a lot of famous people. And but Brian Weiss is talking to Oprah, and Oprah's talking about her beloved dogs who passed away. And Oprah, I'll give it to you now since I don't want to keep you in suspense.
Oprah said, when my beloved dogs, I spent more time with my dogs, Sophie and Solomon, than any being on this earth because they were with her all day. And she said, when they died, I was deeply, deeply grieving. She's telling this to Brian Weiss, and you can see it on YouTube. When they died, I was deeply, deeply grieving. But after a while, I realized that my beloved Sophie and Solomon were little souls, little spirits. And she said, I am closer to them now than I have ever been to them. And when I heard that, I thought, how is that even possible? But in the context of what you just read, Shelley, and if one is really connected to a loved one, whether animal or human, and they have passed, there's a way to connect with them on this level, this soul level. And that's what Matt McKay says. He said, he'll say about Jordan, he says, I miss my son. I miss hugging him. I miss being with him physically. But the communication that I have with him every Saturday for the past 15, however many years it's been, since 2009. So what is that, 16 years, 17 years? This is priceless. I never had this communication with him when he was alive. We didn't talk about this stuff. I have a relationship with him now in a spiritual state that I never had with him on earth that has deeply enriched my life, but I miss hugging him. Not everybody has that, but he teaches, and get his book. In his book, he has an appendix for how to do this channeling. It's very simple. You got to work at it. It's like exercise. I can't tell you that I've done it and it's worked for me. I haven't put in the work. I haven't gone to the gym. But you go in this spiritual gym and he lays out very simply how to do it. You got to be patient. You got to work at it. He said he has taught hundreds of people through this simple process of how to connect with their loved ones who have died. It's on my to-do list. It's on my to-do lists, but he says anybody can do it. You got to put in the work, though.
As far as connecting with other people, there's a book by Jane Roberts called The Education of Oversoul 7. I don't know if you've ever heard of it, but she once a week had a visitation from someone who said they were a guide and taught her things.
Great. Carol, could you put that name in that in the chat box? Put the name and the name of the book.
I'll try.
Okay. Oh, yeah. Yeah. Jill, her twin died recently. Died within the past year. And yeah, well, I'm glad, Jill. This is all meant to be comforting. And it's not, to me, it's not comforting like, oh, it's just wishful thinking. All these three guys I'm talking about, Brian Weiss and Matthew McKay and Michael Newton and others, many others, do this past life regression. Michael Newton has trained hundreds of people, and they all do it. And by the way, I'll give you the website. If you can hire these people, I looked online. They're a couple in LA. You're going to have to pay some money. I don't know what they charge, but insurance doesn't take this. Your HMO or your PPO does not cover this. But you could meet with a past life regressionist trained by Michael Newton here in LA or online. You can do it virtually, remotely. They're all over the world. And you can get in touch with they do life between life regression. What they're teaching is your own soul record, your own soul history. That's what they do. I don't know if they, you can go to a medium. There are very qualified mediums out there who can get you in touch with a loved one. But if you want to learn your lessons in this life that Jordan is sharing with his dad, you can learn your lessons with these therapists that Michael Newton has trained. So let's keep going. Number 11. Again, we're back to Matt McKay. We are part of God entering into the physical universe to learn there, and everything we learn gets uploaded so that God evolves and grows. So this is neat, by the way. This is what's called process theology. If anybody is familiar with the University of Chicago School of Philosophy and Religion, there was a guy named Alfred North Whitehead, and he has his disciples. They do not believe in a perfect God, and they believe in an evolving God.
And what Jordan is teaching Matt McKay, because Matt was raised Roman Catholic, he didn't know process theology. And Jordan is saying, God is evolving. When we have these physical experiences, God can't have those experiences. We are like God's avatars. We are having these experiences in the physical world. It's being uploaded to the spiritual realms. God is learning from our experiences. God is evolving. It's called process theology. And there's a Jewish guy, Brad Artson, Rabbi Brad Artson. You may have heard that name. He teaches at American Jewish University. He's local. He's in LA. He's got 2 books on process theology. Now he doesn't. I don't think it goes at this level, at the spiritual level, but he talks about an evolving God, a learning God, and God learns through our experiences. That is called process theology. Came out of University of Chicago, Alfred North Whitehead in the 1940s, 50s, whatever, 60s. Okay, this is really powerful. Talk about an insight and a takeaway and an application. To me, this is it. Our mission is to go into this difficult place, says Jordan and Matt McKay. Our mission is to go into this difficult place, planet Earth, this place where there's so much pain, so much challenge, and learn here. But primarily, we are learning how to love in the face of pain, which is impossible to learn in the afterlife because there's no pain there. We are here to love in the face of pain. One could spend a lifetime unpacking the implications of that statement. We cannot truly learn love if we do not know its opposite, if we do not know the challenges of love, the sacrifices involved with love, the hardship of love. Parents, right? Parents, we know what it's like, right? The sacrifices you make for your kids. It is painful. Back to positive psychology, people who don't have kids are happier than people who do. It is a proven fact. Kids cause us pain. And when I say kids, I mean of any age, adult children. They cause us pain. But there's a love there that is being forged in the crucible of pain and suffering. They're teaching, right? Teaching us patience, teaching us forgiveness, teaching us love no matter what. And by the way, that's very spiritual. Love no matter what. That's what McKay says goes on in heaven. Love no matter what you did. Love no matter what. You're going to deal with your karma. You're going to clean up your messes in another life. You're going to learn your mistakes. But that love will not be taken from you, no matter what you did. Parents need to learn that lesson. So I think this is the $1 billion answer. Let's keep going with this. Learning how to love in the face of pain, in the face of all these obstacles and struggles that we have, that's our job. And we take that knowledge and we upload it to God. It's sort of like, I love this metaphor, and I think he got it from Jordan. It's sort of like we're like bees that go out of the hive. You know, individual souls go out of the hive, they collect the honey. But in our case, we're connecting knowledge and wisdom in the face of all the struggle and difficulty on this earth, and we're bringing it back to God. We're bringing this honey back to God, so God can learn and that the spiritual world can grow. And that library, that spiritual library, that database can get stronger. And it can make the physical world better through our experiences. Evolution, spiritual evolution, moral evolution will take place because these experiences in our diminished forms are being uploaded for learning and progress. I want to keep going just to get through it, and then we'll share. We got 5-7 minutes to share, but I also want to lead you to some other sources. And then, oh, by the way, this is the other $1 billion. What did I say? Billion or 10 billion? Whatever the number. And get this, everybody. This is a great lesson. Again, Matt McKay, he's my guy. All this pain that we experience, it's not failure. We're not messing up. He had a stronger word. It's not the word you're thinking of, but I didn't want to put. I it made it even more PC. Yes. was it was an S word. And all that pain that we experience is not failure. We're not messing up when we have pain. The pain is part of why we're here. This helps to teach us, right? Teachable moments. When we make mistakes, when we fail, this is a growth mindset. When we fail, it is not we are a failure. It is not meant to produce shame. We haven't failed as a failure. That's how we learn. That's how we grow. Some of the greatest learning takes place through failures, shortcomings, disappointments. Some of the greatest learning, right? Even on this earth, we've experienced that. Ask yourself, what have you learned about life? And then say, what was the source of that? I bet 70% of it is something negative. What you've learned the most in this life. I have learned compassion from people who were not compassionate. I felt that pain and I said, that hurts. I don't want to do this to anybody else. I learned from that's why the Dalai Lama says the Chinese are his greatest teacher. Right? Chinese exiled, the Tibetans murdered many of them, burned down their monasteries. Dalai Lama says they're one of my greatest teachers. That's what this is saying. Okay, back to now I want to talk about yin yang and Michael Newton and what we talked about before about positive psychology. This is back to Michael Newton in Journey of the Soul. So I'm now quoting his book for the first time. Both positive and negative emotions are mixed between soul and host, meaning host body, the physical manifestation of our soul, the vehicle for our soul. Both positive and negative emotions are mixed between soul and host for their mutual benefit. If a soul only knew love and peace, it would gain no insight and never truly appreciate the value of these positive feelings. That's the yin and the yang. And I've talked about this before for high holiday sermons. We cannot know light. We cannot appreciate light if we don't know darkness. We cannot appreciate love if we do not know hate or indifference. We cannot appreciate cold or appreciate warmth if we've never experienced the cold. This is how we learn. This is Taoism. This is yin yang. This is how this physical world works. We know things by their opposites. It's the paradox of the spiritual life. It's the paradox of life. We know things more fully by their opposite. And that's what Michael Newton is saying. You really want to understand love and peace, you got to know war and hatred. And it's a tough school. It's a tough lesson. But that's how you grow. All right. Good stuff, huh? You guys like it? You can see why I'm into this stuff. And Kabbalah is interesting, but hey, they're getting really deep. They're getting very practical. It's making sense. Okay? So now for further study, and then we'll share a little discussion for those who want to stay on in person and online. Here are the books by Matthew McKay, Seeking Jordan's Where It All Started. And then The Luminous Landscape of the Afterlife, Jordan's Message to the Living on What to Expect After Death. So Jordan lays out, hey, here's what it's like when you die. Here's what the cleansing's like. Here's what the spiritual realm's like. Here's what reincarnation's like. Jordan lays it all out in The Luminous Landscape of the Afterlife. Lessons from the Afterlife, a deep knowledge meditation guidebook. That's, these lessons that we're talking about. Plus in the appendix, you guys want to start channeling loved ones who have died. You guys want to start channeling. Think about this. I got one more thing to add. You may have heard the expression higher self. You can channel your spirit. That percent that's up in heaven, that 50%, that 40%, that 70%, you can channel that and ask yourself, your spiritual self questions and get answers through this process of channeled writing, automatic writing that Matt McKay teaches in at least 2 of his books, and you can find it online and in the podcasts.
When you were talking about opposite, it reminds me of Musa.
Musar. Oh, right. They're just on a continuum. Yeah, and you sort of balance the opposites. Yeah, yeah, like character traits, like anger, but then like, the opposite of anger is not just sort of peaceful, it's just sort of like, I don't know, nothing phases you, right? You're not you need to be in the middle somewhere. So this is, it's sort of like Musar, but it's sort of not. I mean, they haven't talked about balance yet. They do talk about balance in their books. You got to go a little bit deeper into it to sort of make those connections. But yeah, I'm glad that this is resonating with the idea of Musar and this continuum of traits. And by the way, Michael Newton gets into like our souls have personalities that are different than our incarnate personalities. We have different personalities when we incarnate, but our soul has a more consistent personality trait to it. And Michael Newton talks about it in his books. So here are Matt McKay's main books. Again, you can go on YouTube. You just Google Matt McKay talking about afterlife. You'll see him in conversation, these podcasts that I have access to. You can see him talk, and you can hear what he has to say. These are his books. These are the books by Michael Newton: Journey of Souls, Destiny of Souls, Memories of the Afterlife, and then his institute, newtoninstitute.org. And that's where he trained other therapists, and they're continuing his work and training other therapists to provide people with the experience of soul state, reconnection to the wisdom of afterlife through publications, research, and individual. LBL means life between lives. This information is life between lives. This isn't Jordan saying, hey, in another life I was doing this. Or this isn't, this is life between life knowledge, wisdom that these spirits are sharing with, shared with Michael Newton, and that Jordan's sharing with Matt McKay, his dad. Okay. And then just back to Simcha, if you want to explore more of the Jewish approach, and you're going to see many similarities. I talked about some differences, but there's a lot of similarities here. Check out Jewish Views of the Afterlife again, and .institute.net.
There's something in Newton's book, Journey of Souls, that made me see Jacob climbing the ladder. It's on page 119 of his book. And he says, all lines of mental communication we use to reach the Godhead are monitored by our guides on this step. The first step is on the ladder of finding our higher power. They too have their guides further up the ladder. The entire ladder serves as one unbroken conduit to the source of all intelligent energy, with each rung being part of the whole. It sounds like Jacob when he was
Jacob's ladder. Yeah, Jacob's dream with the ladder and angels ascending and descending.
yes,
And thank you for that. Thank you for sharing that, Carol. And again, Journey of Souls is if you want to start, read Michael Newton. That's the book to start with. That's where it all began. Now, Michael Newton did say he felt like he held back a little bit. I mean, he goes into this. It's a lot of case studies. It's literally transcripts of his recorded sessions with clients. And he edited it down, and he chose the ones that he found the most relevant. And then in each chapter, he will give his take, his analysis. What does this all mean? And he said in interviews that I've listened to, he held back because he was afraid. I mean, he was a psychologist. He thought people were going to, say this guy's a quack. This guy's, he's a charlatan, and his career was going to be destroyed. But similar to Brian Weiss, these people slowly shared this information that they had been learning in their therapy sessions because they really were afraid that they were going to lose their careers. And at a certain point, people like Brian Weiss and Michael Newton, Matt McKay said, I can't not share this. This is too important for me to be afraid to share. So other Susan, you see any other comments, questions?
Know things by their opposite. Rabbi Rick, that is so true. You are our guy.
Oh, that's so sweet. That's thoughtful. Well, I'm just a channel, really. I learn it from other people, and I something strikes me. I'm like, yeah, that makes sense. and I just share what I learned. So I'm a librarian. I'm a teacher. I'm a teacher.
Speak for yourself.
Ah, right. Yeah, no, it's fascinating. It's fascinating. And these guys are great. And so check out their stuff if you're interested in doing this regression work and learning what your soul has to teach you. Check out the Newton Institute if you got the money. There, you know, and let us know what you discovered if you're willing to share it. I just want to share one other piece before we go. So here at Temple Sinai, we are having a Judaism and cremation program in May, and that's going to be sponsored by Mount Sinai. Mount Sinai has graciously subsidized some of our programming here at Temple Sinai, particularly Shabbat Latte with Cantor Allison. And so to thank them for their generosity, and the requirement of their generosity is that we do something with Mount Sinai. So there's going to be a Judaism cremation program sponsored by Mount Sinai Wednesday, May 27th at 7 p.m. Stay tuned. We will let you know as we get closer to May. Anything else? No, it's going to be here at Temple. It's going to be here at Temple Sinai, but they're sponsoring it. Yeah, yeah.
Rabbi, it's
Yeah.
Heather.
Those
Can you
of
hear me?
Are here and, oh, yeah, Rabbi, can you just say, if anybody still wants to sign up for Friday night? Which I know is not.
Okay.
You must be at least level 3, Rabbi, because you are clearly a guide. Thank you.
Oh, well, thank you. I think if I were to look at the levels, and I've looked at his levels, three seems about right. I'm happy with 3. And the whole thing tier 2, and that's what you need to look at this stuff. It's like social comparison. You never, right? That's a real human weakness, social
Rabbi?
comparison. And to me, it's all about we're all on a journey and we all have a purpose here. In addition, by the way, to the purpose to be that we are here to learn and grow and evolve and elevate our soul. We also have specific and to learn how to love through pain. That's like purpose number 1 is to deal with our level to love through pain. But then we each have the assignments that we have chosen, whatever we're working on. I'm probably working on patience and anger and everybody's got their own curriculum. You know what I mean? And we're all progressing. We're all moving forward. We're all going at different paces. We all have a different curriculum. And I do think, what Matt McKay does, which is great. He's got a book called Why that he wrote, which I didn't list, but it's fantastic, where he talks about this stuff. And in the book of Why, he sort of works through exercises of how to determine what your life purpose is. And he frames it, and I love this, and this is with Ralph Metzner, of blessed memory, who McKay studied with. He was a Harvard guy, and he did consciousness studies, and he did afterlife work, and he also trained Matt McKay. Actually, the channeling that Matt McKay does, he learned from Ralph Metzner. And he and Metzner wrote a book together called Why. And Why is about discovering your life purpose. And they give examples of like different, purposes that people have. And so I think it's helpful for us to try to spend some time reflecting if we believe some of this stuff or most of this or part of it, what is our purpose in addition to loving with pain? We have other sub-purposes. Can we discern what our other purposes are? And here's the way they frame it. Here's why I wanted to go with it, Ralph Metzner. It was a 6-step thing. And he was basing this thing on Hinduism or some other Eastern religions or other. It's a model that Metzner incorporated. So let's say that there are 6 sort of purposes. One is to be like a teacher or a guide. One is to be a healer. One is to be like a builder of things. That's 3. Number 4 is to be artistic, to create something. Forgive me for, one is to be a guardian. And there's another one that I'm escaping right now. But if you think about that, if you just use that frame, or as part of what you do here is to teach others, is part of what you're doing here is to heal others, is part of what you're doing here is to build something, is part of what you're doing here is to guard and protect something like the earth or help somebody, police officers, firefighters, they are here to protect, right, and serve. That's one of their purposes. And an artist, somebody to create. And then the idea is that, we have multiple purposes, and then you determine what percentage, like for me, I think a big percentage of me is to be a teacher. I think maybe a less percentage is to be a healer. Another percentage is to be an artist. What I do, when I write a sermon, when I present things, I put this together, there's an artistry to it. I'm here to be a guardian. I'm here to protect my kids. I'm here to help them as sort of the guide and the teacher, but I'm also here to protect them physically. So, and you could go through that list too. It helps you sort of discover your purpose. And it's really valuable because what Matt McKay says in that book with Ralph Metzner and another guy, this Irish spiritual guru who's up in Berkeley area with Matt McKay, happiness is not about seeking pleasure and avoiding pain. That's antiquated. Happiness is about aligning with your purpose and living your purpose.
Happiness is
You're going to be
about finding
empty.
your purpose.
You're going to be empty with the other stuff. It's going to be nice, chocolate's nice,
Happiness.
food is nice, hotels are nice, going to Hawaii, it's all nice cars, it's all great, nothing wrong with it. But that's not our purpose. Our purpose is to align with our values and what we came here on this earth to do. And we're never going to be fulfilled if we cannot discover our purpose and align with it. Maybe that's insight number 14 by Matt McKay. Next session, next year. All right. Well, thank you everybody for joining us. Let me do this. Let me get rid of the share. Can I get rid of the share? Yes. Is the share's gone? Okay. All right, everybody. Thank you for being with us. Please continue to put messages in the chat box. We're all waving to you. I don't know if you can see us, but everybody here is waving to you.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Oh, Susan's going to do a 360.
Rabbi, what were the 6 purposes? You only said 5.
I know. I can't remember.
Oh,
Check
okay.
out the book Why, or you know what? Google Matthew McKay. The book is called Why, Discovering Your Purpose, something like that. And ask AI, back to our friend AI, what are the 6 purposes? It's Ralph Metzner's work. Matt McKay included it, but it's Ralph Metzner's teaching.
Okay, got it.
Yeah, I just remember teacher, healer, guardian, builder, artist, and I don't know why I'm blanking on the 6th
The
one.
protector, and then there was, yeah.
Yeah, but it's there. You'll find it. Or you know what? Maybe I got the book. So next time
Hey,
you
I
see
can
me,
go-
I'll keep
that's
the
okay.
book in my office.
I'll try Googling it.
Oh, I raised my hand again. I have a question, everybody. All right, join us again. Thank you all for being a part of it.
Thank you.
Lower hand. Come Friday night. Come join us. Thank you, everybody. Have a good night.
Thank you.
Thank you, Rabbi.
You are most welcome. Thank you all. It's a pleasure. It's a pleasure. Thank you, Jake. Thank you, Susan. Thank you, everybody. Ruth, who made this possible. No, it's good. I'm going to stop the recording now. Yeah.